Alrighty, so yeah, it's done. In terms of all these Leagues Cup games that happened today, I think this is the earliest that I've been able to do a review with all these Leagues Cup game that is finished. I mean, I knew today it was going to be relatively early with all the game finished before 8 o'clock. Though, for the past couple of days, there's been times when we did some weather delay, and there was a couple of weather delay in two of these games. This game was pushed back to almost 8 o'clock, and then the game between Austin and Juarez was also pushed back 30 minutes because of the heat. But great to see that I'm able to do the review. And the sun, of course, is still out, although it is about to be setting right now as we speak. But yeah, let's get into these games, and we start off with the first one, which is Atlanta versus Cruz Azul. So this is really the game where it's a true do or die kind of game in the Leagues Cup. I mean, so far in this tournament, we have seen there are games that, if you win, you of course advance, and if you lose, depending on how the situation is, you might still move on or get eliminated. But this was really truly a do or die game. Like, whoever wins this game is going to move on. Whoever loses this one is going to be out, and it definitely did not disappoint in terms of the intensity and the sheer pressure that both of these teams face. I mean, the big storyline coming into this game is that you got to say both head coaches are playing for their jobs in this game. Like, whoever loses that one is going to get eliminated, and yeah, the fan base would definitely be calling their head coach heads. And I think in the end, maybe Atlanta fans are going to do so, especially from Gonzalo Pineda and their GM Carlos Bocanegra. Now, in the first half, in the third minute, there was a huge shout for a penalty for Atlanta not given. Amada puts it high from long range. As I thought Atlanta was on the front foot. They got off to a positive start. They were pushing for the opener. Yakimakis would heads it wide from the header. But then in the 20th minute, Cruz Azul strike. It's Moises. He scored from Rotondi to make it 1-0 in favor of Cruz Azul. That was completely against the run of play, but just poor defending from Atlanta United. I mean, they didn't really did a good job defending that, and as a result, they find themselves 1-0 down. Which again, that's got to be very frustrating because they played so well in the first 20 minutes, and then one lapse of concentration on the defensive end, and they're down 1-0. I mean, that's the thing about this game, how the margin is very very thin, especially with the pressure that both of these teams face. So yeah, Atlanta all of a sudden they were on the ropes with them losing 1-0. There was also a huge shout for a penalty. Again, this time for a handball not giving to Atlanta. Atlanta continued to have most of the possession, but the problem is that the final third left a lot to be desired, and that's been kind of the case we have seen from Atlanta this season, and really for the past couple of years. I mean, we know this is a team that likes to have possession, and we know this is a team that at times could look good on the build up. It's the final third play. That's just been the problem. It's just way too slow in the final third play, and at times, just no urgency whatsoever shown in this team. And we do head to halftime with Cruz Azul leading 1-0. Now, in the second half, Cuadrado did deny Yakamakis from long range, and then Rivero would puts it high from long range in the 50th minute. And I thought these low percentage shot is not the answer for Atlanta. I mean, I get it. Yes, they decided to go long range and maybe catch the Cruz Azul goalkeeper off guard. But these low percentage shot, like, unless if Thiago Mata is the one that hits it, I mean, I'm pretty sure these kind of shots that has been taken besides the name Almada is not going to go in for Atlanta United. And I also wrote, where's the urgency for Atlanta? Because like I said in the first half, they were moving the ball way too slow on the build up. Like, it was just way too easy for Cruz Azul to defend. And again, this just shows you that where's the urgency showing this team? You're down 1-0 in a must win game, and it just doesn't seem like that they show any urgency whatsoever. Antuna then puts it high from long range before Yakimakis missed it wide, which everyone and the PA announcer thought that went in. In fact, the PA announcer already said it was going. Even Kevin Egan originally he said that one looked like it went in, but then he said, "Oh, looks like that one goes wide." And gotta give credit to Kevin Egan. I mean, I don't know how he was not completely fooled by that, because when you look at how that was headed by Yakimakis, that looked like it ends up into the back of the net, but it didn't. It actually was kind of an illusion where it hits wide and then hits the back side of the netting. So yeah, no goal was scored. It's still 1-0 in favor of Cruz Azul. I mean, pretty much the entire stadium celebrate. Some of the Atlanta fans thought that they were level, and some of the Cruz Azul fans realized that yeah, somehow they were still able to have a 1-0 lead. But I thought in the 74, well, in the 74th minute, Corrado did deny Amada from long range on the free kick. I mean, the audacity for Amada to hit that one on the free kick. Like, he has no range in terms of shooting. If he strikes it, he's going to challenge the keeper. And then it shouldn't be a surprise in the 75th minute, he finally scored. As he scored here to make it 1-1 in this one, and you can clearly see that I immediately wrote Kerry this team on his bike, or on his back there. I don't know why I wrote on his bike there, but let me just change that real quick. But yeah, he was basically carrying this team on his back. I mean, this was just like throughout this second half, despite the fact that Atlanta were very poor going forward, he was really the only guy that was trying there. So it was not a big surprise that he would be the one that scored the equalizer. And just like that, the momentum was with Atlanta because I kind of also thought Cruz Azul was started to hold on a little bit. And again, this is the thing about when you have a 1-0 lead, you can't just hold on and pray and hope that you can walk away with a 1-0 victory, especially against this Atlanta United team, because this Atlanta team has that spectacular of scoring late goals. And I also thought that the back line was on its road because Atlanta finally started to found some space, especially on that right side. Though in the first minute of stoppage time, we did get some tempers flare because again, it's an MLS versus Liga MX game. We've seen it all tournament long, and I had a feeling it was coming with the way how intense this game was. Yakimakis and Didi definitely had some choice words with each other, and I have a feeling it's not about who's gonna miss the PK shootout, as the PK shootout was looming. And then Robinson, he hits that one right to Geraldo, who had a free header there, and that's one that Miles Robinson is gonna be thinking about not just later tonight, probably for the next 3 weeks, because that he's got to bury that. Like when you have a free header like that, and I know Miles Robinson is not known for scoring goals. In fact, I think he only had one goal so far for Atlanta United. Well, that's one he's got to bury. I mean, when you found that much space to who heads it, that has to go into the back net. But instead, we go to a PK shootout because, of course, in a do or die game, it has to go the distance. It has to go to a PK shootout. Now, during the PK shootout, there was actually someone definitely, someone actually decided to shine a laser pointing right to Guzan, which, yeah, that you just never like to see that happen. I have no idea how they were able to get that laser in. And what's kind of weird is the fact that as there was one of the Cruz Azul player ready to take it, the referee kind of stopped it, and I kind of was surprised the fact that the referee stopped just as the Cruz Azul player was about to take it. Like I've never seen that before, where a referee just stopped a penalty kick take, and apparently it was because the laser was pointing at Guzan's face there. So yeah, that gotta gotta suck if you're a Cruz Azul player. And in some way, I'm pretty sure it was a Cruz Azul fan that did that. And yeah, in some way, you're kind of hurting your team. The fact that yeah, now you're basically making your own player think about it, and you're about to shoot, and now you gotta do it again because of that incident. But that being said, we also had some chirping that was going on at the halfway line. I mean, I noticed in this tournament, whenever we get to a PK shootout, and especially involving MLS and Liga MX team, there's going to be some chirping that is going to go on in the halfway line. There's definitely some heated exchange words. But that being said, it would be Loti, the one that converts the winning penalty for Cruz Azul and make them move on into the next round, as he converts it in round number 6 for Cruz Azul to win 5-4 against Atlanta United. The shots in this one: 15 shots compared to 6 that Cruz Azul has, 3 shots on goal compared to 4 that Atlanta has, 6 shots off target compared to 1 that Cruz Azul has, 2 shots that was blocked compared to 5 that Atlanta has, and possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that Cruz Azul has in this one. And while this was definitely not a great performance by Cruz Azul, and you can see that they pretty much hold on for dear life in this one and ride their luck in the PK shootout, they were able to move on into the next round. As it is the case. I mean, I noticed whenever you have these MLS versus Liga MX kind of PK shot, it's usually favorites the Liga MX team. Though this season or this tournament, I have seen MLS team able to outlast the Liga MX team in a shootout. But yeah, that was not the case in this one. And yeah, Cruz Azul, like I said, they're move on into the next round. But for Atlanta United, yeah, now they are eliminated, and that now they're going to be joining St. Louis in terms of having 3 weeks to think about what they need to do with this team. I mean, I do think that Gonzalo Pineda. I mean, if his seat is not already. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if there could be some changes that could be made in this Atlanta United team, because we saw it in the last time when we had this kind of tournament, that is the MLS is back tournament, which I said that this is why I kind of enjoyed this Leeds Cup tournament, because it really reminds me that vibe that we had during the COVID year where there was the MLS is back tournament. It gives similar vibe. And in that tournament, after Atlanta was dumped out of that tournament, Gabriel Heinze immediately got, or actually not, it wasn't Gabriel Heinze. I think it was it Heinze? I think no, it wasn't Heinze. I think it was Frank De Boer, the one that immediately got the boot there, and I have a feeling it could be the same case for Gonzalo Pineda, because again, there's definitely a lot of unrest in the Atlanta United fan base toward Pineda, and especially Carlos Bocanegra, and this maybe be the end of the line, especially of them not moving on into the next round of the Leeds Cup tournament. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next match is Charlotte and Necaxa. So I want to thank Charlotte in terms of making this game not competitive whatsoever, because I was definitely keeping a close eye on this game. In fact, I was watching this one and also this one at the same time, and both of these games were very competitive. And with the way that this game between Necaxa and Charlotte was kind of out of hand, I kind of stopped taking notes too much in the second half and really didn't pay too much attention to this game, with this one just kind of got out of hand heading into the second half. Though early on, I thought Charlotte was on the front foot early, though Necaxa did get the first shot as Colorado puts it wide from close range. And as I mentioned before, there is actually a player from Necaxa that is named Colorado. It's not the Rapids. Here puts it wide from close range. And as I mentioned, that was the game's first shot. But in the game's second shot and the first shot for Charlotte, we go into the back of the net. It's Brent Bronico scoring for Schwedetsky here to make it 1-0 in favor of Charlotte. This was a monster game for Karol Schwedetsky, and he definitely had something to prove. But that goal looked like it was short-lived when Firmino did score, but the goal was disallowed as there was a foul in the box there. And the Necaxa player, they surrounded the referee. And in fact, I think some of them maybe even made contact with the referee. I was very surprised the referee did not hand out a yellow card in that sequence, because when you surround the referee and have like a mass confrontation like that, you usually see a referee maybe hand out a yellow card and basically hand out the law there, but he didn't. They did of course have a breach check to see whether or not indeed it was a foul in the box, and it was. And yeah, Charlotte, they kind of got away with one, and then they got away with it again in the 13th minute as Gutierrez puts it into the back of net. The problem was there was a check to see whether or not if Bautista screened the keeper and was in an offside position, and when I look on the replay, it was pretty clear that that was the case. I mean, as I said before, you don't have to touch the ball. If you are in an offside position and you're in the path of the ball and you're in an offside position, yeah, that goal is going to always be disallowed. And that, of course, is the case. And I mean, wrote the soccer gods is clearly smiling on Charlotte tonight. And I think this is also kind of a moment when I realize, yeah, Charlotte's got this one. I mean, the Necaxa is just getting snake bitten. I feel like Necaxa, if you want to talk about a very unlucky team in this tournament, I think they're probably the most unluckiest team, because in that game against Dallas, they looked decent at least in the first couple of minutes, and then the red card happened, and it kind of ruined them. And here, they could have easily tied the game up twice in this one. Both time was this half goal disallow for offside. But good. Godinho did deny Schwadetsky, who had a free header, as the shots were 4-3 for Charlotte 32 minutes in. Kalina would then rob Silveira from a point-blank effort. I mean, that was just an incredible save there from Kalina from a point-blank effort there. I think actually Silveira actually he slipped there, but still somehow able to get on when he's on his ground, still able to get it on the volley. And yeah, Kalina with just an incredible save here to deny Necaxa the equalizer. Though I thought Necaxa has really got into this game, and Charlotte, I thought they were playing with fire a little bit. I mean, there was a lot of last ditch defending that was going. They were definitely letting the foot off the gas way too much, but thankfully for them, they eventually would get that second goal as Schwedetsky would score from Josviak to make it 2-0 in favor of Charlotte. It's been a long time since these two Polish DPs for Charlotte has combined, and that has to put a lot of smile on Charlotte fans' faces to see finally they contribute. We then get some cheapiness or we get some chirping right in front of the Necaxa bench. In fact, there was some pushing and shoving that is going on because again, it's an MLS versus Liga MX Leagues Cup tournament match, so you're gonna get one of those situation. And Charlotte respond by scoring a third goal in this one, as Scott Arfield would score from Schwadetsky to make it 3-0 in favor of Charlotte. I'm not sure if this is the first goal for Scott Arfield ever since he signed with Charlotte, because I do remember he did score one in league play, or maybe that goal was disallowed. But either way, that made it 3-0 in favor of Charlotte. And again, at that point, I was like, "Yep, this game is pretty much over," and it really was over in the second half and in the 49th minute with Charlotte already leading 3-0 as Mendes would get himself sent off, and again, just a rush of blood there from Mendes. I mean, you can clearly see these Necaxa player, they were absolutely frustrated at the fact that they're 3-0 down now, and especially with the soccer gods clearly not in their favor after seeing 2 goals being disallowed early in this one. And yeah, just a rush of blood here with just a reckless tackle on Schwadetsky there, and he's got to be sent off in that. So yeah, Necaxa, second game in a row, they were down to 10 men. Schwadetsky would then puts it high from long range before Ajiman would puts it wide on the header, but he would be on target just a couple of minutes later as he scored here from Lindsay to make it 4-0 in favor of Charlotte. The only blemish for Charlotte is that they didn't keep a clean sheet, as Poggi would score from Dominguez to at least give a consolation for Necaxa, but in the end, Charlotte with a relatively comfortable win, 4-1 in this one against Necaxa. Shots in this one, 10 shots compared to 9 that Necaxa had, 2 shots on goal compared to 7 that Charlotte has, 3 shots off target compared to 4 that Necaxa had, 3 shots that was blocked compared to none that Charlotte has, and possession-wise, 69% possession compared to 31% possession that Necaxa has in this one. So yeah, relatively comfortable win for Charlotte. Definitely one of their better performances they have this season, and now they get to move on to play against Cruz Azul, which I think that's got to be a favorable draw for Charlotte, knowing the fact that Cruz Azul, they barely sneak by Atlanta in this one and move on into the next round. And you gotta say maybe they're the weakest team right now left in Liga MX, because Cruz Azul has not really looked impressive in those 2 games that they played, but somehow they were able to still sneak into to moving on into the next round of the round of 32 of the Leagues Cup tournament. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next match, we have this game between Orlando City and Santos, and man, that was a fun game. I mean, this, just like the one between Santos and Houston, it was a very fun game to watch. It was very back and forth, but the Cardiac Cats is back for Orlando City as they were able to pull off a 3-2 win, scoring a late dramatic winner to move on into the round of 32. And in the first half, Galese would deny Viguera from close range before Maguire actually struck the post as the flag went up, and he's probably the most fortunate that person in that stadium that the flag went up, because that was not a great moment there for Duncan McGuire. I mean, as hot as he's been this season, and he continues to stay hot in this game too. Yeah, that's one he's got to bury. Like he had an empty net to shoot there, and he just didn't put that one on target. But he was kind of bailed out by the flag being offside, and even if we put it in, it wouldn't have counted. Torres then had a shot that took a wicked deflection but goes wide, as I thought Orlando was pushing early for the opener, though Parciato did put it wide from close range before Angulo would blast it high from the free kick, and then he would do the same thing in the 25th minute, this time from close range. But instead, Santos gets the opener in the 40th minute. It's Lopez, the guy that missed the penalty for Santos to lose in that PK shootout against Houston. He would score here to make it 1-0 in favor of Santos. But yeah, that was not a great moment there for Angulo. I mean, just a bad giveaway from him, and even a worse moment for Galese too, because again, Pedro Galese, that's one he wants to have back. I mean, it wasn't really hit very well from Lopez. I think that's one that you can say 9 out of 10 times Galese should able to palms it away, but doesn't. And yeah, Santos were leading 1-0. That lead only lasted 4 minutes because, as I mentioned, Duncan McGuire, he had that bad miss earlier. He made up for it in the 44th minute as he scored here from Santos to make it 1-1 in this one, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half. Now, in the second half, Orlando wastes no time to take the lead, as Mauricio Pereira would score from Carlos to make it 2-1 in favor of Orlando. It's been a long time since I've seen Mauricio Pereira being on the score sheet, but yeah, he definitely break that goal drought with some class with an absolute banger of a goal from from long range. We then, of course, had some chippiness between Maguire and Cervantes because, like I said, there's definitely going to be some unfriendliness when we see an MLS and Liga MX kind of matchup. Torres then pulls it wide from long range. I thought it was a positive start for Orlando. They were pressing to get another, but Bernetta did pulls it wide from close range. Then in the 58th minute, another guy that's been red hot so far in this tournament and the Leeds Cup is Preciado, as he scored here from Lopez to tie the game up at 2 apiece. Now, originally, they said that the goal counted, but they did have to go to VAR to see whether or not if there was a foul in the box, which they said no. So yeah, that goal counted. It ties the game up at 2 apiece, and then Rafael Santos would look to respond, but he hits that one wide. I should have put the full name too, because again, it's kind of weird mentioning Santos hits that one wide for Orlando when Orlando is literally playing a team called Santos Laguna. But I also thought that this game was wide open. Like this game was end to end. It looked like it was up for grabs for both of these teams to get the winner, and it was kind of similar in the game between them and the Houston Dynamo. I mean, I know Santos, of course, eventually would get eliminated from this tournament, but man, they have played some very fun game, and it's a shame that the fact that they of course get eliminated, as we don't see them play some really crazy Leeds Cup after dark kind of games. We've seen them in the 2 games that they play. But in the 72nd minute, Preciado would puts it wide from close before Bernetta would miss a sitter from close range. And again, Santos, I thought they would started pushing for the winner. Orlando, they were looking to settle for a PK. Now, throughout this broadcast, they also mentioned about this crazy situation. And again, if you want maximum chaos in the Leeds Cup tournament, if this game, like, let's say if this game actually ended with a free draw, if they go to a PK shootout, I believe if Santos actually win the PK shootout, then Houston would be out, and both of these teams would move on into the next round. Like it was just the scenario was getting wackier and wackier, and which is why again, if you're a Leeds Cup sickos and you want the maximum chaos that happened, you were really for that to happen. But again, up to this point, it was still 2-2. And again, Orlando, it looks like they were going to settle for this one. They were going to try to play this one in a PK shootout. Though, again, if you're a Houston Dynamo fan watching this, you are just praying that somebody eventually win, because the goal coming out of this game, if you're a Dynamo fan, just somebody win. Like if somebody win in regulation and don't go to a PK shootout, then they of course are moving on into the next round. Bernetta would then blast it high and into the stands on the free kick, and then in the first minute of stoppage time, Orlando basically gave Houston what they really wanted, which is someone to win it in regulation. As in the first minute of stoppage time, it's Wilder Cartianga. He scored from Arujo to make it 3-2 in favor of Orlando City. Though on the other end, Preciado hits it right to Galese, and I'll tell you what, Preciado, he had a good look in that, and with how red hot he's been, I thought that was free, and that would have just gone maximum chaos in terms of what we've seen in this Leeds Cup tournament. But fortunate for Orlando City, and also if you're a Houston Dynamo fan, that one goes right in the hands of Galese. And yeah, in the end, Orlando, they're moving on into the next round, and the same goes for Houston, as Santos is out with them losing this one 3-2 against Orlando City. Shots in this one, 16 shots committed, 11 that Orlando has. Both teams had 5 shots on goal, 10 shots off target for the 4 that Orlando City has, 2 shots on the block for the 1 that Santos had, and possession-wise, 46% possession compared to 54% possession that Orlando City has in this game. And like I said, very entertaining game. I mean, this was just one of those games where I had a feeling somebody was going to eventually get the winner if this one doesn't go to a PK shootout. It was just a matter of who's going to do it. Is it going to be Santos? Is it going to be Orlando City? In the end, fortunately for Orlando City, they were the one to do it. And even more thankfully, if you're a Houston Dynamo fan, you actually saw both of these teams did not go to a PK shootout and saw one of these teams win in regulation. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 2 games to wrap up tonight's action in the Leeds Cup group stage action. All right, so we just talked about the good of MLS team either going toe to toe with a Liga MX opponent or just flat out blow them out of the water. Now let's talk about the bad part of MLS team just getting destroyed against a Liga MX opponent. And we start off with this game between Austin and Juarez. And well, Austin, I will give them credit. They played very well in this one for 25 minutes. Problem is that in the game of soccer, the game doesn't end after the 25th minute. Like if this game ended after the 25th minute, then Austin would have moved on. But again, in a game that has the full 90 minutes, yeah, it feels like Austin just played 25 minutes, and they say, yeah, we're just gonna go back to the reason why everybody in MLS hates us, and even their fan base hates this team because they just simply cannot able to get a big win in these kind of games where they play against a Liga MX or just play against an international opponent. Now, early on, Garcia would puts it high from long range in the 6 minute. Remember that name, Austin fans. In fact, Austin fans is gonna have nightmares about that name because he would turns out to be having a monster game against Los Verde. Driussi then puts it wide from close range, and then Redis had an empty net to shoot. But this is Ronnie Redis, so you know it's not gonna go in, and this one was clear off the line. Even though I thought it was a slow start for Austin in this one, they kind of woke up and they were pressing for an opener. Again, Austin, they had to win in this game if they want to move on into the next round. And at least early on, they showed like they were going to do so as the shot were 5-2 in favor of Los Verdes through 18 minutes. The post would then deny Driussi from close range, as I thought Austin is getting closer, but the question is, can they find that clinical finishing and get that opening goal? And they did in the 23rd minute. And I always love to see when Ethan Finley score, former Loons player there, scoring here from Owen Wolf to make it 1-0 in favor of Austin. So at that point, you're thinking, well, yeah, this is looking good for Austin. It looks like they're finally going to get a much needed win against an international opponent that they been struggling lately this season, and it's been kind of a narrative that Austin just don't show up when they do play against a non-MLS team. And then this is when Austin realized that there's a reason why that narrative exists, because yeah, this is when they kind of just checked out after this goal. And in the 27 minutes, Salas would pulls it to just wide after just a bad turnover. Actually, not from Juarez there, but from Austin. I thought it was a good response for Juarez, but just a massive let off. Like I was expecting Austin to kind of continue to push to get that second goal, but instead they just kind of backed off and allowed Juarez to have a couple of chances to get the equalizer, and Juarez did get the equalizer in the 36th minute. It's former RSL player Bopo Salcedo scoring here to tie the game up at one apiece as we head into halftime. With the score tied at one apiece. Now in the second half, at least early on, Austin was on the front foot. They were looking to retake the lead because Conte would head it right to Pascal before Garcia would went through on goal, but he missed wide there. And then he went in on goal again in the 58th minute, but missed wide there. So yeah, that's got to be concerned for Austin, because they basically had no answer for this Garcia guy that was running circles in that back line, and were getting left unmarked at time in the box. And I even wrote that too. You know, Austin, they were playing with a lot of fire. Like, I thought they were playing a very high line in this one, which when you're playing a high line and you basically lose the ball in the midfield, or getting on the getting counter, you're in serious trouble because yeah, you basically are leaving huge gaps at the back for FC Juarez to exploit. And it's not to no one's surprise that Juarez eventually did get the lead in this one. I actually didn't wrote the minutes, but it happened in the 63rd minute. And guess who it is? It's Garcia. That guy again. Again, he scored here to make it 2-1 in favor of Juarez. And again, that was the third time Austin left Garcia unmarked in the box and let him had a big opportunity to score. And when you let your opposition, and even the same player 3 times, to have a chance to bury it, you know that player is eventually going to bury it. And yeah, they finally got burned because of it. There was a shout for a penalty for Austin not given, and then in the 69th minute, it's that guy again, Garcia. He scored from Zapata to make it 3-1 in favor of Juarez. That's the fourth time in this game where they have left Garcia completely unmarked, but also not the first time we've seen Austin just getting completely burned on the transition, because again, they continue to play that high line. It just does not work whatsoever, and unsurprisingly, now Austin looked like they were in serious jeopardy of not moving on into the next round, as they found themselves 3-1 down in this one, similar to what we saw in the first game when they went down 3-1 against Mazatlan. Zapata then puts it wide from close in the 83rd minute, and I really didn't write too much notes after that because I thought this game is over. Like, Austin, they looked like they were down and out in this one. There was no coming back, and I really think that third goal was kind of just lights out at Q2 Stadium for Austin and their Leagues Cup tournament, because I didn't think there was any coming back from that, especially of how woeful the defense is. And again, this season, that's been a big problem for Austin. And while this season in the league, they have got away with it a couple of times, yes, they have got a couple of decent wins, but if you look at it closely, there's been time where they got a couple of these wins because Brad Stuver has simply bailed out at time and non-existing back line. Yeah, in this tournament, it was pretty much the same thing, but unfortunately, Brad Stuver, who I didn't think he had a good tournament in either, but again, can't really blame him too much with the way that this back line was pretty much non-existent in this game against Cruz and also in the game against Mazatlan. It's not a big surprise that Austin once again dropped the ball in an international tournament, as in the end, Juarez is moving on into the next round with a 3-1 win. The shots in this one, 19 shots compared to 14 that Austin had. 6 shots on goal compared to 4 that Austin had. 6 shots that was all target compared to 10 that Juarez had. 4 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that Juarez had. And possession-wise, 61% possession compared to 39% possession that Juarez has in this game. And that, again, I think I'm definitely going to be, at the end of this Leeds Cup tournament, I'll definitely make a video talk about who are the most surprising team or disappointing team coming out of this Leeds Cup tournament. Austin is definitely going to be on that list. I mean, between them and Atlanta has had a hugely disappointing tournament, and I think Austin probably have an even more disappointing tournament because when I look in the group and the group that they're in, it's very favorable. Like these two teams, FC Juarez and Mazatlan, not really known for being the powerhouse of Liga MX. And even though I know FC Juarez has had a good start this season, I mean, this is not like Club America or even Tigres or Leon or even Rayados we're talking about. So yeah, this is a huge disappointment. And especially another thing that I've seen in this tournament is while we know these well-known powerhouse in Liga MX has done well against MLS team, these lesser known team has just getting absolutely clapped by these MLS team, and we saw it earlier with Necaxa too. A team that historically for the past couple years haven't done well in Liga MX, and both times they got destroyed by an MLS opposition. And the same goes with Querétaro that we saw, and even Atlético de San Luis against New England. So this has got to be very disappointing if you're Austin against these teams that other MLS team has done well against, and they just kind of dropped the ball big time once again in this game. But that being said, moving on into the last game on this board is DC and Pumas. So one of the thing I will say that I kind of criticize this Leeds Cup tournament is the fact that we have so many games that has happened, and it feels like not every team has gotten even amount of breaks. I mean, there's teams that have like a whole week off, and then there are teams where they only get like a couple of days off. And also, not to mention, when you have a game like this one where DC, they were already moving on into the next round, where Pumas absolutely had to win this one, you kind of had a feeling you knew how this game is going to end. Pumas is probably going to win this one relatively easily and going to give it all, and DC kind of just say, well, we're just going to treat this kind of like an exhibition, because we know that we're already move on into the next round, and it's no surprise that Pumas was able to easily get a win against DC. And it kind of helped with them getting a goal just 6 minutes in, as Harada would score from a charity to give Pumas a 1-0 lead. By the way, I actually did not watch the first couple of minutes, and also I didn't watch the first couple of minutes of the Austin and FC Juarez game because I was still watching the PK shootout between Atlanta and Cruz Azul while the first couple of minutes of this happened. So I actually didn't see this goal, but yeah, Pumas was leading 1-0, and I just had a feeling, yep, this looks like it's gonna be over, and that I didn't really wrote too much notes on this game because again, just judging by how the circumstances and the storyline coming into this game, just had a feeling probably DC is not going to do well in this one. Heinz Ike then had DC's first shot, but he missed high there as the possession was 64-36 in favor of Pumas. They were controlling this game early. Seville then puts it high from close range before Bono had to deny Fernandez after just a terrible giveaway from DC. The shots were 7-2 in favor of Pumas through 23 minutes. Like, it was a total domination by the Mexican team. And it's no surprise that they would make it 2-0, as Nathan would score from Caicedo to make it 2-0 in favor of Pumas, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half. Now, in the second half, it would be 3-0 in favor of Pumas, as Fernandez would score from Revacu to make it 3-0 in favor of Pumas. Benteke then had his shot clear off the line, and I thought Pumas kind of started to put their foot off the gas a little bit, knowing the fact that they already have this 3-0 lead and it's relatively comfortable. They started to put their foot off the gas just a little bit. DC kind of started to get back into this game as a result. There was a shout for a penalty not given to DC before another shout for a penalty in the 71st minute not given as well. Salvio then puts it right to Bono before departing. Wood puts it right to Bono as well as Pumas, started to ramp up the pressure once again. They were looking for number 4, but ultimately they had to settle for 3, but they get a big 3-0 win to move on into the next round alongside with DC United. And for Montreal, again, yeah, that game where they blew that 2-0 lead against Pumas, that game comes back to haunt them. And that's the thing about this tournament where every games matter, and how, sometimes when you just play into a PK shootout, it's not always the best thing to do, because you drop that crucial point and you also give your opposition a crucial point too, and that turns out to be the big difference in this group. But the shots in this one, not close whatsoever. 19 shots for the 5 that DC had, 6 shots on goal for the none that DC had, 4 shots off target for the 7 that Pumas had, 6 shots that was blocked for the 1 that DC had, and possession wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that Pumas had. And I think between this game and the game that Club America had against St. Louis, it's probably the most lopsided kind of result we see in a Liga MX team beat up on an MLS team. Though in this one, I can understand why it is the case, because like I said, for DC, they had nothing to lose in this one. They're just kind of taking it easy, and not to mention they just had a hard-fought victory against Montreal a couple of days, and on a short rest against a Pumas team that is much well rested. Yeah, you just kind of had a feeling how this game was going to end up, and it was not going to end up in the favor of DC United. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at all 5 of these games that wrapped up this Thursday, or not Thursday action, Saturday action of Leagues Cup action. Tomorrow we will have, I believe, another 5 games that's going to be happening. I mean, we're wrapping up in terms of the group stage action, and we're already starting to see some teams that have already clinched their berth, and then some teams that have already been eliminated. But we got 2 more days of Leagues Cup action, and then we get into the fun stuff. We get into the knockout stage, and I already know that there's going to be one matchup that I'm really looking forward to. So remember when I talked about how Orlando beat Santos, and I thought that was kind of a game where they mentioned multiple times, well, whoever wins this game gets to face against Inter Miami and Messi and his company, which again, it can go both way. Like on one hand, you want to take the challenge to face against Messi, but on the other hand, yeah, I mean Inter Miami is just red hot right now, and it feels like the way that this tournament is set. I've already heard people say Inter Miami can go all the way, which I don't know if that would be the case, but yeah, with the way how it is set up, I don't think you want to face against one of the hottest team in the tournament, especially one of the hottest MLS team in this Leagues Cup tournament, that is Lionel Messi. One thing that is interesting is the fact that they have to face Orlando in that round of 32. And I mean, if you're an Inter Miami fan, I mean, I don't know if you're happy the fact that you're facing against Orlando, because on one hand, yes, I think they have been Orlando City a couple of times when they're playing at home. Though I don't think this year was one of them, because I think Orlando City did beat Inter Miami earlier when the game was at Drive Pink Stadium. But still, if you're an Orlando City fan, I mean, it's either, well, bring it on against Inter Miami, or the fact that, oh, now we have to face Messi and company, and he probably may be taking this. This is the first time he gets into this Florida rivalry, and he's going to take it personally against Orlando City on that one. But still, that is going to be a marquee matchup. That is probably going to be a matchup that a lot of people will be talking about. But yeah, as we wind down the latter part of the group stage, we're going to start to find out the round of 32 matchup, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be some very tasty round 32 matchup that actually doesn't start until, I think, the first round 32 matchup starts on Wednesday. But when it gets to that, this is when the tournament gets really fast, where next thing you know, we're already in the final, and then this tournament is over. And honestly, I will also say that I have really enjoyed this tournament. This tournament has really reminds me of the MLS's back tournament that we saw during the COVID shortened season, and that you can clearly see the players really care about this tournament, and even the fans care about this tournament too. Like the attendance, I know it's been kind of hit and miss at times, but mostly it's been a hit, especially when you have MLS team taking on a Liga MX opponent. But like I said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.